Oh boy, I haven't done a video like this in a number of months. And the whole reason for that was because I had planned to make an animated intro for this style of video, and I got like halfway through and I just never finished it. And so instead of waiting for the day where I miraculously get the motivation to finish that animation, I'm just gonna start making them again because I miss making these kind of videos. I say miss, but like I only made 2. I literally made a script for the intro to these. Let me find it real quick. Hi, welcome to the cabin. My name is Mo. Today we're doing a character redesign. In this series, I attempt to revamp an old character design while trying to stay as true as possible to the original concept. This is mostly to test and strengthen my ability to design characters, but it's also to breathe new life into designs I no longer use and discover how they would have looked if I designed them today rather than years ago. Oh, okay. That was I rewrote that. I don't know why I'm stuttering so much today. Okay, welcome to the video. Today we're revamping the oldest design for JEMI. If you're new here and don't know, hi, welcome to the cabin. I hope you enjoy your stay. But also, I released my first comic, Fantasy, in 2016, and this was the character design that I had for one of the main characters named JEMI. I still use JEMI, but I no longer use this design because she has changed quite a lot since then. These characters have existed online for a little more than 7 years, and since then I have revamped them several times over. I've started thinking of them as like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know how like every couple of years the TMNT will get like a revamp and they'll have a new iteration with like upgraded designs and story work and all that? That's essentially what's happened to my characters through the last 7 years. And you know, thinking about it that way has made me feel so much better about constantly canceling my stories. Anyway, all this to say, I have been developing my character design skills slowly over the last 7 years, and today I put them to the test. This one was somehow more difficult than redesigning Scatterbrain / Sabrina / Sawyer. I don't know how to refer to them. But anyway, enough chit chat, let's start talking about the actual design. So with the idea of staying true to the original concept, I wanted to try and make the silhouette very similar. And for the longest time, this is how I would draw my characters. It's giving Minecraft, which, you know, makes sense because that's technically where I started. You can see that their arms and legs are thinner towards the body and thicker towards the ends of the limbs. Now, this was just my art style back then, but I wanted to kind of keep that idea there. JEMI had these tall boots and flowy sleeves, so I felt like I could kind of make it work. And I like how it turned out. I do like this art style a lot. It's nostalgic for me, but I also, you know, it's an aesthetic thing. With keeping the silhouette relatively the same, I also wanted to really exaggerate the swirl that was in her hair. But you could probably tell, whereas in the reference images on the left, it's more soft. You know, she looks like a very round character. But in the redesign, I'm attempting to make her look as sharp as possible. I think a more angular look would really work well for all of the swirls and also the diamonds that are in her design. I think it would make a lot more sense for her to be kind of a hard-edged character that's, you know, sweeter on the inside, which would make sense too because in this iteration of these characters, JEMI was the leader of a very large city that, after a war against hostile shadow monsters, suffered a partial genocide, losing half of their population in the massacre. So it made sense to me that this revamp of JEMI's character would be hard? Sounds horrible. I hope you know what I mean. Fuck it, I'm leaving that in. That's hilarious. Do you know what I mean though? She seems like she has a rough exterior. Anyway, I'm trying to lead into talking about shape language. I tried to lean into the sharp triangular / rectangular shapes in JEMI's design, and I got that idea from her antlers in her original design. If you can see at the left side, they're very angular and they're kind of rectangle, but they have a sharp point at the tip of them, which is ironic because I totally changed how her antlers look. But anyway, using sharp angles in a character can allude to how strong they are and how menacing and unpredictable they can be. It's not always like that, of course, but a lot of villains do tend to have sharper aspects to their designs, and it's used to make them look, you know, sharp, dangerous. You see something pointy, you think that could probably hurt me. And the same thing can kind of be said for rectangular or square characters. When I see squares in character design, I usually think of the word strength. I think big, strong, but reliable. There's 2 examples I can think of to explain what I mean. I would talk about the Lion King, but I'm afraid I'm gonna get demonetized. Look at the dad and the villain from those. do that on your own time. I'm gonna talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again. In Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of them look very different regarding their shape language. And the two that I want to talk about are Raph and Leo. Raph is very square, as you can tell, and he's also the oldest brother in this show. He's kind of the leader, he's the one who's protecting them a lot, and he's very strong. The way that he fights is very much strength-based. Now when we take a look at Leo, his strengths lie in his charisma. And when you look at his character design, you can see that there are a lot of sharp aspects to it. He has a pointier face, he has a lot of stripes on his body that end in a point, and his weapon is a sword, a very pointy, sharp object. And his whole vibe is very charismatic, very witty, sarcastic, hard to get a grip on, like he's slippery, he's sneaky, he's got a plan. That's the best way I can describe shape language. Back to this design. So there's a lot of sharpness going on in JEMI's design, and there's some rectangular and square-based stuff in there as well, and all of it is to push into the idea that she is a confident, strong leader. There were several points where I got pretty stuck. I think the first one was with her antlers. I didn't know what I wanted her antlers to look like. I didn't like how they were in Fantasy because if I were to stick with that idea, then I would have to put a lot of effort into the perspective and angles of them. And I'm making these designs with the idea that they're going to be used in a comic or animation. So I'm trying to keep them interesting, but simple enough that you could probably memorize the design or just draw it relatively quickly. And you know, perspective is difficult sometimes, so I wanted to ditch that idea. Originally, I was going to try and incorporate a diamond shape into her antlers, but it ended up looking more like a heart shape, and that wasn't really the vibe that I wanted to give her. I did want to incorporate a lot more diamond shapes though, as you can see in her ears and her boots. They have like triangular diamond shapes on them as well. Again, all to make her look sharper. I struggled with those for a while, but I ended up going with a shape that is kind of reminiscent of her old antler design, but less angular and another little appendage coming off. I also made them black so they could just be a part of the line art and I wouldn't have to worry much about the perspective of them, because her old antlers, they were angular and they were white, which brings more attention to them. So if that perspective was ever wrong, you would definitely know, because they're lightly colored and they're large. A lot of attention is brought to them. Another thing I really struggled with was her sleeves and the little tassel flowy parts of her shirt. I don't know what it is about it, but every single time I would envision her shirt, it would come into my mind as a texture I really didn't like, and I'm not quite so sure why, but I wanted to avoid that from happening again. I don't know how I was gonna do that, but I mean, it worked. Partway through this, I also realized that I forgot her wings, which I decided to veto. I don't know if I'm using that word right, but I decided to get rid of them because I didn't know how I was gonna incorporate them into an already pretty busy design, but also she only really used them like once in the comic and then they never appeared again, so I just decided they weren't gonna be part of the design. Anyway, back to her shirt. I decided to make it a two-piece thing. JEMI was intended to have a black tank top underneath her shirt. I never got to show it, but there was going to be an episode where she was like working out or something and she had a black tank top on. Anyway, my point is she did have something underneath her shirt to begin with, so I decided to just really lean into that and make it like a visible part of her design. So underneath she has like a sleeveless turtleneck vest that looks like it can zip up, and I did this because I was thinking more about her diamonds and her antlers actually. I was thinking, how can I make this easy for this character to wear? In the comic, her diamonds just phased through whatever clothing she was wearing, but I like to think that she has a vest that's like specifically made for her, and one that she can put on and zip up instead of having to pull over her head so that she can avoid getting her antlers stuck in her clothes. And then the sweater, I wanted to keep with the big sleeves, but I didn't want to make them like dangly, flowy sleeves, so I gave her a sweater that has kind of puffy sleeves. I also had to keep reminding myself that this is a fantasy universe, so the clothes don't really have to look like they make sense. Because the whole time I was drawing this, I was like, well, the tassels could probably like get in the way of her fighting or something. But then I was like, what if this is a traditional type of clothing for leaders to wear? Like, I don't know. It doesn't have to make complete sense, and I like how it looks. I did give her like a fingerless glove look as well, but I think that those would be part of the sweater that goes over her vest. I don't know what they are, they just look cool. I wanted to make her look cool, and fingerless gloves look cool. They're not really practical, but you know, they look cool. I also really didn't know what to do with her staff, because in the comic she has this big staff that has two like huge diamonds on either end of them, and it's supposed to be like, I don't know, a double-edged sword or something. I did keep in with the diamond shape, but I made it, you know, look like they're actually weapons. Like now they actually look like two very sharp objects, like probably made out of metal. It's still kind of tinted blue, but like it looks much more threatening than her other weapon looked. Her old weapon was white as well, which I changed. I made the white part of her weapon into like grip tape, I guess, something to like make the hold on it a little bit easier. And I made the rest of the staff this very dark green color, which looks black, but you know, that was kind of the goal, is to make it look very dark. Another thing I really didn't like about her old design were her shorts. She had these really short white shorts that just, it looked like she was either wearing like underwear or just athletic shorts, and I just really didn't like them. So I gave her this skirt thing that has like attached shorts. I gave her like a skort. Is that what it's called? A skort? Like a skirt that has shorts attached to it. I don't know. Anyway, that's what she's wearing. Going into this, I knew that I wanted to add more darkness to her design because her old one was very light and brightly colored. And that's fine, but too much of it can be overwhelming. So I wanted to add in more of a contrast by adding darker aspects to the design. Also her eyes were like literally diamonds in the comic, and that just, I didn't understand it at all. So I made them diamond shaped with diamond shaped pupils instead of just being full like gems in her eyeballs. I also gave her a little chip out of her ear to like, I don't know, I guess accentuate the fact that she's a rough character, you know, she's got battle scars and shit. I also kept her wicked sharp eyeliner and even added more towards the inner corner of her eye. And with the color of her diamonds, her body is very blue and her clothes were pretty green, so I took both of those shades and kind of mixed them into her diamonds. And I think it turned out very nice. I used to bash on my old designs because they were very saturated and I really didn't understand how to make it look good, but I've just proved to myself that I can still make very saturated characters and have it look nice. Like the bright blue hair goes hard. I don't know if it was a good idea for me to do this, because now I think I can do anything. I've managed to make this look good. I can do anything! Anyway, I gotta end this here, because if I don't, I'll just never stop talking. There is so much more I could say about this character and this design and the process in general, but I have limited footage. Anyway, this was super fun to make. I hope you enjoyed. I'm kind of mad now because I like this design so much, but I'm never gonna use it. I thought about selling it, but it's still like my character, so I feel kind of wrong about that. I've thought about potentially selling designs, but I have no idea how to price those, and I don't know if anyone would even buy them, so I don't know. Let me know. What are your thoughts? If you liked this video, leave a like on it if you like, and maybe subscribe. Maybe, just, you know, think about it. You can find all of my socials on screen as well as in the description. Art and stuff gets posted on Instagram before they do on YouTube, so if you're interested in early access content, you can find it there. And if you're interested in getting to know my characters a little more, there's an Ask blog for them on Tumblr. All of this shit can be found in the description, so if you want any of it, go to the description. Thanks so much for hanging out. I will see you in the next video. You keep my life bright, my lights. Bye!